Oh, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As Ashley just said, she said, I'm going to start crying before this even begins. I just might. My name is Susan Marinoff-Zausner. I'm the president of the Intrepid Museum, and on behalf of our Board of Trustees and our entire Intrepid team, we welcome you here as we commemorate the attack on Pearl Harbor, which unbelievably is 80 years ago today. Very first thing we're going to do, if I may ask, is for you to rise for the national anthem. Please be seated. So this day is always bittersweet, but today it is especially so. For years, we've been blessed by the participation of survivors from that fateful day, individuals who have become part of the fabric of our museum and for sure, our dear friends. We looked forward to seeing them on this day, as I know you all did, regaling us with their memories, still fresh of bravery and heroism, and also making sure that we always remembered the unspeakable tragedy they witnessed firsthand. Sadly, we lost Aaron Chapin in 2017, and you, Helene, have been honoring us since, coming to honor his memory and that fateful day. And most recently, several months ago, actually, we unfortunately lost Armando Chick Gallela and Reverend James Blakely at ages 100 and 101, respectively. And as I just said to Michael, he would have been 101 Chick on New Year's Day. All of us were lucky to have known them, each remarkable for their service and sacrifice and for the lives they led afterward. And while they're no longer with us, it's important that we carry on tradition and we continue to pay tribute. We are so honored to have members of Aaron and Chick's family here today to say a few words as part of this program. And we thank you both for being here, all of the family members and friends who are here, for joining us, and we do look forward to hearing from you. And Bonita Blakely, while she is unable to be here, has also passed along her gratitude and her best wishes for everyone here. We're honored to have our former crew members here, of course, and as always, I'd love to recognize you for not only your service during service, but your service today to our ship and to the Intrepid. You're so supportive all the time, and we will never forget what you have done for our country. If you will allow me now to introduce to you a very special individual, the chairman of our museum, Mr. Ken Fisher. He serves as chairman of Fisher House Foundation, an organization best known for a network of comfort homes where military and veterans' families can stay at no cost while a loved one is receiving medical treatment. They are embarking almost on, there'll be 100, I'm going to guess, Fisher houses soon around the world. It is extraordinary. And on top of that, his family salvaged Intrepid from the scrapyard, one of the reasons, if not the reason, we are here today. And he is personally responsible for game-changing support for our service members and their families. If you will welcome, please, Mr. Ken Fisher.
Thank you. I just wanted you to know I wanted to wear a tie this morning, but I had a booster yesterday. I can't raise my arms, so forgive me. Good morning. December 7th marks a pivotal day in our nation's history. The unprovoked attack at Pearl Harbor plunged our country into World War II, the most devastating conflict in history. That date of infamy cost 2,400 Americans their lives. Just the first in a war that would ultimately claim more than 400,000 of our nation's men and women in uniform and millions upon millions more throughout the world. The Pearl Harbor attack 80 years ago forever changed the lives of so many, as it also changed this country. It brought together the American people into a nation wholeheartedly committed to the Second World War. Though the attack severely damaged our Pacific fleet, it could never destroy our resolve. In fact, it strengthened it. It was borne out by, I believe, Admiral Yamamoto, who said, "I fear all we did was awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve. But more than that, it ultimately launched a superpower." The aftermath of the tragedy and devastation of Pearl Harbor is the story of unprecedented determination, ingenuity, and ultimately triumph. The shocking toll and the great military impact, the recovery effort, and the massive mobilization began almost immediately. Within just 2 years, and much of it sooner, the vast majority of ships sunk or damaged that day at Pearl were salvaged, repaired, and refloated. Truly an engineering marvel. Returned to battle and helped defeat the Axis powers. The American economy immediately shifted into war production. In industry after industry, astonishing feats of manufacturing were accomplished. By 1944, our nation was producing more than 100,000 aircraft and tens of thousands of naval vessels of all kinds annually, including aircraft carriers. Within 3 years, the U.S. Navy had surpassed the combined strength of all other navies in the conflict. The ship we stand aboard today played an important role in that fight. The keel of the Intrepid was laid just 1 week prior to Pearl Harbor, and the attack expedited its construction. The ship was commissioned in August of 1943 and went on to serve in some of the most pivotal battles of the Pacific theater. It is therefore fitting that we recognize this day aboard this ship. Like Pearl Harbor, Intrepid is a sacred ground. More than 250 of its sailors and airmen were lost on this ship or in the skies above her. Our nation forever honors those who gave their lives in its defense, and we realize the freedom we enjoy comes at a very steep price. Remembering those lost on this date in 1941 and in the 4 years of brutal fighting that followed is our responsibility as Americans. It's our national duty. Intrepid will forever be a symbol of heroism of men like Chick, Aaron, and James. And like our Intrepid crew members, all seated over here, all those who answered and continue to answer the call to defend our country and freedom throughout the world. We pledge to forever remember and honor their heroism. I want to thank you all for being here today. It's so important that we honor their legacy aboard this ship. So thank you very much. God bless you all, and may God bless this, the greatest nation on earth.
Thank you, Kent. So Private Aaron Chapin from Queens in New York, he dropped out of high school to enlist in the Army. He was in his barracks when the Japanese attacked. With enemy planes buzzing overhead, he ran to his post at Pearl Harbor, where his commanding officer handed him a loaded gun and told him to save the last bullet. Aaron spent the rest of the day relaying phone messages between officers, watching Pearl Harbor go up in smoke and flames. We were honored that he was able to share his account with us for many years, and we are really thrilled to be joined today by his family. And with that, it is my privilege to introduce his daughter, Michelle, to offer some words about Aaron. Michelle.
Well, there was my short speech right there, written by my mother. In early 1941, when my late father, Aaron Bear Chapin, enlisted in the Army straight out of high school, I think it was probably maybe the day he turned 18, he never imagined that Hawaii, beautiful Hawaii, where he was stationed, would be under attack within months. On that quiet Sunday morning, while he was reading the Honolulu Advertiser, he told us, on his cot in Schofield Barracks, he heard an explosion. He saw planes flying so low on the ground that he was able to see the pilots' faces, he told us, as well as the insignia of the rising sun. When he ran to his, I'm going to repeat, when he ran to his post at the communications center, his commander handed him a loaded 45 caliber pistol and said, 6 bullets are for the Japanese. 1 is for you. Don't be taken prisoner. He and his fellow soldiers honestly and truly believed that Hawaii was about to be invaded. It was a day that shocked the American people and mobilized them, us, to action. He told us, I went into the Army a boy and came out a man. He said of the attack and also his responsibility to maintain communications between his base, Washington, D.C., and the ships out at sea. And most of those soldiers were, 18, 19, 20 years old. If you can imagine our, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds today doing that. My father's communication unit was the first to receive a commendation for bravery under fire during World War II. It is difficult, sometimes impossible, to believe that 80 years have passed since that fateful day, when so many brave men and women lost their lives or were injured. For decades, Pearl Harbor survivors have shared their painful stories with us. From that day, in order to educate and to ensure that those who were lost will never, ever be forgotten. Today, with the number of survivors so quickly dwindling, it is more important than ever to share what they experienced and to bear witness to this history, because in 50 or 70 years, there will be people who will say it never happened. For this reason, the Intrepid Museum and its work are more important than ever. My family, the Chapin family, deeply appreciate the Intrepid leadership and its commitment to continuing to commemorate this tragic day, and most importantly, to honor our servicemen and women wherever and whenever they served. I myself am the mother of 2 active duty soldiers right now. For many years, my family has been marking this somber day on the Intrepid. Its staff and the other survivors and their families have become like family to us. We want to thank the president and the chairman of the Intrepid, the staff, and the volunteers for all that you do. We are truly grateful.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for your father's service. Thank you for your kids' service. Thank you. Armando Chick Galela served in the United States Army for 5 years in the Pacific Theater, and he was stationed at Hickam Field with the 443rd Construction Signal Corps in Pearl Harbor when the Japanese attacked. Having survived Pearl Harbor, he then went on to Tinian and later participated in the Battle of Okinawa. He received several awards for his bravery and service and was honored with the Bronze Star for his courage during the Battle of Okinawa. To talk about his father's life and legacy, it is my privilege to introduce his son, Michael Galela.
We have gathered again today, December 7th, on the historic ship, where we have assembled annually to remember the sacrifices made by so many on this day. Today, we convene to mark this tragic and consequential event, the 80th anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor, the beginning of the world-altering inclusion of America in World War II. It is particularly painful for me and our family who is here who has passed on September 29th to be here today, but we are proud to be here. In the years past, there have been many numerous Pearl Harbor survivors here. My dad always among them, each proudly wearing their Pearl Harbor Survivors Association cap, which I brought with me today. Sadly, they are no longer with us, and it is a constant reminder of remembrance and vigilance. The initial meeting of what would become the Pearl Harbor Association was on December 7th, 1954, where 11 survivors met to remember their fallen comrades and dear friends. It was at that first meeting that those in attendance swore they would make the commemoration an annual event. On December 7th, 2011, during the 70th anniversary ceremony in Hawaii, the president of the Pearl Harbors Association announced the termination of that corporation association as of December 31st that year due to the advanced ages and failing health of those remaining 2,700 members. Peak membership was 18,000, and nationally there was 70,000 worldwide. However, the annual remembrance on this ship has kept that promise alive for years, with survivors proudly wearing their caps. Unfortunately, the vast majority of the local survivors have either passed on or are not healthy enough to participate. But we remember them in spirit, and a watch from above. The Greatest Generation Foundation stated that there are approximately 50 Pearl Harbor survivors remaining. Within the past 2 years, many, like my dad, succumbed to COVID. In their honor, let us remember this tragic day for the 2,355 military personnel killed at Pearl Harbor and 1,177 on the Arizona. There were countless acts of heroism on that fateful day. One of them performed by Private John J. Horan, who is mentioned every time my dad has spoken. But I don't believe my dad ever told his story. And this is from a book entitled 14 of Them. It was written in 1944. Is a story of the 14 men in the Tarrytowns who died in the service of America during World War II, a sacrifice made by one small American town. John Horan was a star athlete in high school. As war seemed closer after high school, he thought he would try to become an airplane mechanic. He was employed in the General Motors plant in his hometown, so he wrote letters to principal plants with no responses. Until President Roosevelt asked for 50,000 men and women with training in mechanics to join the service, so he enlisted. On Saturday, December 6th, in 1941, he went to a football game behind the Schofield Barracks in the hills of Pearl. After the game, he had thought of getting the 8 other boys together from the Tarrytowns. I cannot believe that there are 8 other boys from Tarrytown in Hawaii at the same time. He said, I'm going to get them all together for a party for Christmas. But that party would never happen. Shortly after sunrise, as John was eating breakfast, the earth started shaking. Everyone rushed outside to see that there was a war going on. They went back inside, realizing that there was so few American guns firing. He and 3 others thought about the machine guns in the planes. They ran without hesitation. John got himself a 30 caliber machine gun from a plane. He had it over his shoulder and was run across the field when he was gunned down by a Japanese Zero. John was one of the first to sacrifice his life. It seemed John was the type of man not to back down on a fight. In the year 2000, my dad was successful in having a park named after him at Horan's Landing, now a village of Sleepy Hollow landmark. He also unveiled his lifelong dream of a Margaret J. Horan Gold Star Mother's Memorial this past Mother's Day. His dream was fulfilled. I will always remember our dad's passion and dedication to tell his World War II experiences here and to school children or to Boy and Girl Scouts events. He would always conclude by telling them that he's not a hero, and all our heroes have white crosses. But for our family, he will always be a hero. My dad died at the age of 100. We enjoyed so many great times with him. We'll always be thankful for that. But today, on his 80th commemoration, let us remember those young men who were killed at Pearl Harbor and the nearly 600,000 that gave their ultimate sacrifice during the Second World War. So many never experienced the memorable moments of life with their families, with sons and daughters and grandchildren. They never had that opportunity. That's why I'm so thankful to have my dad for so long. We honor them for providing us with the freedom to enjoy life as Americans. So let's never forget this day, and thank you to the Intrepid.
Words are so beautiful, Michael, just like your dad. Really, really special. So proceeding outside, I would like to invite Michael, Michelle, if you will, and your families. Please join us as we lay a ceremonial wreath honoring those who lost their lives in the attack of Pearl Harbor. I want to thank you all for joining us today. God bless all of you. God bless this country.